lot of problems, but I don't think it did today. We were going through departments and looking at cuts.
Okay, on P and Z, I noticed when I was going through the budgets last night that we proposed 41,655. Proposed this needs to stay in there, and we need to take that off because Dan's leaving.
Dan was up here.
Okay, well, Dan,
These are the new position.
need two
This is the
positions.
part-time, and that's the planning tech helper that we don't have yet, and that's Trish.
And that's Trish. So,
And Dan is in disaster services.
well, Dan's leaving, so we're gonna need to put somebody in there for the tech or for the administrator.
That was added down in engineering services to be added because they were contracting that out. That was their plan when we had that big meeting. There
No,
were three
he
options.
was gonna, he was gonna. So now we're kind of in a pickle that we need to hire an administrator.
Because that's not what we talked about before. We had three options. We had one that was Dan and Trish.
Well, that's
We
what's
had one
happened
that
now. She
was
just
three
came
of
in.
them.
She just came in. And so that's just this last week. So
Just tell me what you want.
yeah, we need to leave this in and
Well,
take
we
the
need to
20,000
vote on it,
out.
but
Yeah.
why don't you tell us what you're proposing since the public doesn't
So
know?
what we're proposing is planning and zoning. Planning and zoning, we just got word that and so now we're having to go out and
But she doesn't want the part-time P and Z tech that we have listed.
I mean, we're behind down there. That's
So we
the
increased
problem.
her salary to take that position and organize everything. That's what we did. They upped her salary by quite a lot and they,
Well, what is their salary right now?
I don't know, off the top of my head, I have to go look.
Okay.
I mean, that, we had three options, and I could go grab that paperwork and bring it down if you like, because I still have it all. Maybe that.
Thank you. Okay, we'll come back to that. Actually, we don't want to go to. Mr. Prosecutor, may I take? Okay, so. Full-time people to run the department.
Exactly.
We have one and one leaving.
Yep.
But we only have 1.5 in the budget,
That's right.
so we need to find another half,
Yep. And so that would increase it, by
20,
by 20.
another 20,000 off of our improved. I have
And I
my,
don't think we're gonna be able to hire an administrator for that amount, but we can try.
cuts that we have today, which right now by my total is 173.
See, currently we're paying Dan out of disaster and planning and zoning.
Yeah.
55. 255. Thousand so far out of the budget with the departments we've talked to and the VIVA. And that this would put 21 back into the budget.
Yes, it would. And there's really no way of getting around it because we have to have planning and zoning. That's,
And we don't, you don't,
and I don't think 1.5 people can run the department.
I think they were struggling when we had just 2 down there before, and I don't foresee things slowing down.
No.
two, 254.
This is what we have for Trish.
I see
Yeah,
it's
so we didn't,
about 385 in cuts so far, and this would set it as
Chris is currently making $19 an hour.
yep.
19.
Sorry, I went and grabbed this and you that.
So she would be a tech, and then we would need to hire administrator.
All right, so Commissioner Zimmerman is suggesting that we need to put 21,000 back into P and Z over what is
Currently there.
Increase the planning tech.
You'll have one admin and one planning tech. That was one of the proposals that they had before. And that was
you talking about a proposal before
total
this?
salary 96,465, which is up $30,000.
From right now?
Correct. Planning tech is a full-time position and Dan's was figured at,
And Dan's just gonna be helping out.
he was figured at full-time for an admin and one part-time person is a total planning and zoning budget of 215,000. Compared to 186.
Yes. Well, we needed, I was just saying increase it by 20,000, whatever they had here. That's Dan's number right here.
Yeah.
And then you
That's
reduced
not
it to
Dan.
that.
No, that,
That's an administrator.
it was somebody to be an administrator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Somebody, plus a deputy, plus a part-time. And Dan is split currently 30 hours for disaster services, 10 hours for planning and zoning.
But he's not,
Kinda.
yeah, he's kind
It's
of,
not in the budget,
yeah.
but that's what he's been doing. So what, if he's gonna be the administrator again, what's gonna happen to disaster services? That'll affect
he's not gonna be the
budgets.
administrator.
Who is
We're gonna have to hire one.
Find someone.
at full time, so
Full
that'll
time.
just be disaster services.
He used to
for
be disaster services and
30
then,
hours.
yep.
Okay. So. Are you happy with these numbers? I'll make it whatever you want.
I think we should put this number of 47,816. For the
And we'll keep
administrator.
45,999.
This
41.
41,655. But I think that's hers currently, I think.
Currently, she's 39,519.
39,519.
She got quite a bump when she said she would be the administrator.
Yeah, but she's only getting, yeah, but she's not gonna be the administrator.
So what do you want me to make her salary? That I guess is what, first question. Do you want to take her up 1% from where she is today, like everybody else?
Yeah,
We're
or are we doing that?
not,
Well, I don't know. If you're doing it right now, that's what's in the budget.
yeah, we haven't done
We
one.
haven't done,
We haven't decided on the 1%.
Yeah.
Right now, I'm struggling with how we can do that while we're making all these cuts. But
We'll just leave her the same for right now.
It'd be 40,000, 68 extra out of them.
I'd like to report a theft.
Yeah. Happening a lot.
Due to budget cuts, we may not be able to.
You're not gonna be able to respond?
We're only getting one sheet.
And we'll leave whoever the administrator is at 45,999. And we'll get rid of the planning tech completely.
So that, for clarification, that would reflect a 1% increase then?
Hers would.
Okay.
yes.
And,
And that was new, so that was just.
yeah, so we need to address the 1%.
Yep.
It's on my list. I had thought that, Madam Clerk, hadn't you already removed the 1% with your cuts?
No,
In the trimming that you had
No.
done? Okay. I just misunderstood that. All right, so we've got, we're right around 364 in cuts between the elected departments and the commissioners' departments, and this increase in this and the VIBA going to LATCF. I think it's time to go through what the clerk gave us yesterday. Unless one of the
and I have
commissioners,
some changes on that too.
unless the commissioners have a better idea, I think it's time to go through what she proposed and make sure we understand. Just like the 1% thing that, where we are with that. Okay, so budget adjustments to be made for 24 to balance. This is from the clerk yesterday. Going by that you gave us.
I made a few adjustments.
Do you have a different sheet?
You can talk through them if you need to, they're not that much.
Okay, so in the 1.8 budget,
Use that one. That's basically a summary of what this is.
this is a summary.
I've made 3 copies and I need one of them. So. Thank you.
This is the new one.
Oh, so
It is. That was where I was using to check, but I realized I made a mistake in not calculating all the benefits there, so it made a difference here. So very little changes, but that does give you what the total is now.
Okay, I have to adjust it. I have to absorb this for a second so I understand what I'm reading. So,
And of course, you'll take out the road changes. We'll have to adjust those road changes.
so when you went from the original to the new budget, you were taking what the elected gave us yesterday?
No, I was taking what we had before that. I have not made any adjustments on what the elected gave us yesterday because no vote had been made. So
Gotcha.
I took out the capital, the leases, which I'll have to put back in for roads. I took out the copier, obviously, and Beaver. And then I moved my 2 positions. So basically I did what I said I did on here, but it's reflected here and nothing more. The ones that have a date by them are the ones that I did. The other ones I did not do. So I did 1, I did not do 1A. I did 2, 3, 4, 6, and 7.
Okay. And that's a total of, $1 million.
$20. But now I take out the road one.
and then add in the 441,256 from road that they're gonna retain their
Yeah, none of those have been.
leases.
Right.
Yeah, the VIBA we would still Good.
The road changes, I have to do a lot of those changes in there and any other ones that I haven't got anybody else's in there.
Hey, you mentioned a cut in solid waste a while ago, Jeff. What?
Yeah, that, she said it was, I didn't know what the cut was. So she said she removed the administrative fee.
No, I didn't.
No.
Solid waste, the
No,
cuts.
I didn't remove them. I added them. I added administrative fees. I bumped it up.
Oh, okay.
I didn't change anything else in their budget other than removing the capital, the VIBA, the lease, if they had leases, which they did. And Peggy and I did the admin fees back on August 5th. That was done a long time ago, and it was to make it 9% to match what the medical increase was. It used to be 5%, it's been 5% for years. We only did that in the departments that could afford it.
Okay, so issues that are still before this board. If I'm, I'm asking, I'm not telling. To decide on a 1% cost of living increase. We still haven't cut that, right? That's still in the budget.
Correct.
Correct? Solid waste, we had committed to try and bring them up because they had been left out of the last few increases. I think we still have that that's still in the budget. I think we still have to decide what to do with solid waste. Let me rephrase that. We still have to decide what to do with the solid waste department's increase. We have to decide what to do with the 1% cost of living. We have a million here in cuts, but we need to cut 3 million, but we don't really have a million in cuts because we're putting the road back in there. So I'm trying to figure out in my head where we are in cuts.
We're adding all those that are not shown there.
All-
These things that you've been writing
Yeah.
down for
We
departments.
have 364,000 in cuts there, but that's counting Viva, so I'd have to take that out. So we're at $230,000 in cuts, plus Viva at 130. Plus,
Viva's in there already.
so we have 230,000 plus Viva plus moving all the capital. I'm trying to read the numbers to make sure I'm adding all those where we are in the amount of cuts we've made. And I'm struggling. I didn't teach math. Just go ahead and go on the record for that.
Okay, so you're putting in a, administrative fees in solid waste for 162,360.
I didn't bring that down with me.
So are you showing it as revenue also?
No, I didn't. I have current expense. Yeah, it comes into current expenses revenue.
Okay, so
Goes
that's part
out
of
of
current expense.
Road, solid waste, district court appraisal.
Okay. So it should be
Somebody
basically a
else.
wash.
It's a wash.
It's a wash.
It's a wash.
It's bringing money into current expense to fund current expense.
Okay. Madam Clerk, where would you say we are in total cuts now if we have 230 to add to what you have here?
I don't know, because now I have to go back out some of those that I did. Which roads was quite a bit, right?
500,000.
No, not all of them.
This is what we approved of Viva instead, rather than the 130.
Like, and there's,
Right, but we moved it all to
LATCF,
LATCF, so
okay.
that's
It's
where I'm
not in
getting.
the-
and it's already moved anyway.
Okay. On that sheet you
We've already voted on moving it to LATCF. I'm trying to figure out where we are before we cut anything else. And I need some help. Anybody? How many dollars in total cuts have we made?
I guess I would say that we're gonna have to use some of the money from the Maverick sale or the other property sale money that we have. We're gonna have to use one of those. I say decide which things you wanna do them, and then we'll use what we need to get to our bottom line 3%.
But I kind of like to know
Number.
how much we're gonna be.
I won't know that until I get that done. There's no way I'll know that until I get it done.
Have you already moved the 200 and something from the land improvement?
And I can't move that. You will do a resolution to move that money to current expense. And then that will just be revenue that's there to use to fund this stuff. The sale of the Maverick property has to go into current expense by statute. So it will be a deposit in there also.
Do you remember how much that's for? 2 point?
Yeah, it's 2 million something. I'll have to get the right figure.
But I would suggest only using as much as we absolutely need to. And the best part to do, in my opinion, would be to budget for, at this point, say, use as much as we need to get us to our bottom line of the Maverick money only. The property improvement money, leave it where it is, because I don't think we'll need that. We don't need to make that much more up. So, and then only use as much as we need to, but it's still cash in there. And then at the end of next year, when you need to, you can move it back to the property improvement fund, whatever we didn't use. Because just because we budgeted in there doesn't mean we're gonna use every penny of it, obviously.
Now, can you,
Yeah.
if we recess, can you get the figures and bring them back of what we cut
No.
already?
What we cut, yes. Will that much get us into our levy rate? I can't tell you that until I do our levies. I have a lot of work to do to get to that point. That's why it takes me 3-4 days to do it.
So
I can add them to the spreadsheet and say, okay, here's all the things that you cut. That's simple. So when you plug it back into these numbers that you say, okay, where are we at in each one of these budgets now? Because every one of them affects
what
that
happens
bottom
if
line.
when you're done and we haven't cut enough?
Then I would use the rest of whatever I can out of the Maverick funds, if that's what you choose to do.
I think I might be able to help facilitate a little dialogue here in my discussions with the clerk and understanding what amount of effort goes into her calculating the levy rate. Essentially, I don't think this board is going to be able to have the time to get those numbers back and then make any significant changes. Essentially, I think what she needs this board to do is just decide which cuts you want to make and then understand whether that amounts to 100,000 more, 100,000 less than you thought. The Maverick sale is just going to be used to float the difference. I think that's kind of where she's at within her timeline, which isn't ideal for the board. I mean, I'm the first to admit it, but I think that that's kind of the wall we're up against, is identify which cuts you're willing to make, which ones you don't want to make, and then just understand that the Maverick sale is likely going to cover whatever the difference is going to be. It's just going to be a matter at the end of the year of how much is still left over from the Maverick sale and can be rolled into that trust account for property infrastructure.
And we can always open the budget, reopen the budget.
Yes.
So if, so
I think my concern was that we knew we had to cut 3.2. The Maverick is a couple of that. That means we still got to cut 1.2. And I don't know if we've cut that much yet. That's where I'm probably
I
trying.
can take the time and do that. You don't need to add all those things up. I just need to know which ones you want added up. What are we doing, Viva? That's gonna take Tammy some time to tell me how much is that actual number by department. Cause
Oh.
I don't know that
Right,
today.
right.
And then what was the other one you had down on there? You have the 1%, which that's totally up to you guys. And what was the other thing? I don't know. What else you?
I don't, off the top of my head, now,
Yeah.
remember. I just want to
Solid
make
waste
sure
out
we're
there.
close enough that next week when we have that we're like, oh doggone, we need another, even with all the Maverick money, we don't
I'll
have
tell you
enough.
before that. Yeah, I mean, you guys are gonna have to say, yeah, this is what we want to propose in our meeting on Tuesday.
Cause
Cause it's your
Tuesday,
budget.
Tuesday, we need to present a finished
Yes,
product.
yes.
So in the meantime, we can see where we're at.
Yeah,
And from Tammy's perspective, she needs 3 to 4 days to
Okay.
run all of those calculations,
Understand.
which means that there just won't be time on the back end to rerun them again. So it's kind of like,
Well, I want to make sure we're pretty close because there won't be time to run them again. But in my head, before you cut the 1% COLA, it would be nice to know if if we've made enough cuts or not. And I don't know, I don't guess we can know that.
Right. That was-
For me to go back and cut all the 1% COLAs is gonna take me a significant amount of time because I not only have to adjust the salary back 1%, but I also have to adjust all the benefits again. So I have to do rate sheets for every single department again. And then update the budget to reflect that.
so Tammy,
Update the
utilizing the numbers you have, which are based on a 1% COLA. Can you compute an estimate of the proposed budget adjustments that have been discussed over the last 2 days to give the commission an idea of where it would look with the current 1% numbers that have already been run?
I don't know how to do that. No, I don't, I'm not comfortable doing that because if I throw out a wrong number out there, it's under the bus again. I'm not gonna do it. I'm gonna make sure that it's right. I mean, people change all the time. We do a snapshot. That's why you give us the deals. We work with those. Some people aren't even in those positions right now. So if I was to go back and do it per person again, I have to do it based on who we had when you guys turned them in.
So to give us a rough, if like I sat down and figured everything that we have decided to cut and adjust there, that leaving what the proposed 1% is, what you've already done, just to give us an idea exactly where we at, how much we've exactly cut at this point. Jerry, you've been wanting to say something?
Yes, out of fairness, when we review those commissioners that put out a budget. Let's read it on that, yeah.
I haven't seen any cuts for solid waste or planning and zoning or the commissioners, county general. I haven't seen anything for any of those.
No, we haven't had any. Of course, we have to do that in a public meeting. And
Airport,
we
I
haven't done
haven't
that.
seen. I mean, you can do it right now, right? We're in a public meeting
Yep,
for a budget.
we could do that. A little harder to do that in a group one. Have any of the commissioners thought through any of the, I talked to Saul, I talked to,
I thought through training, I understand that, but that's, we can cut that.
what training are you talking about?
Our IAC training. That's like $16,000. Or was it 16? What was it?
I don't know what budget you're thinking.
Be in the commissioner's budget. Yeah, meals and lodging
Yeah.
was 1793, now it's 4,800.
Yeah, we can cut that.
Registration, 700, now it's 1,500. Travel, 1,600 to 3,000. Office supplies, 750 to 1,500. Telephone went down by $50. And that's it.
I was looking at the IAC training, thinking about that, if you guys want to write it.
Well, my concern is if we're gonna cut IAC training for the commissioners,
Might as
but
well
leave
cut
it in position for everybody else, then
Yeah.
that's an inconsistency. I don't know. That's not a good trend in my mind. But what do you think?
I mean, the training and do we wanna ask everyone else to put their training?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
If we just cut off education and training for all elected positions, wouldn't be so bad this year with, but you know, when you get new commissioners or new elected, that would be,
It'll be next. Is invaluable. If you have anybody. They're not gonna make it.
I think we get some liabilities if we don't
I
keep
agree.
our people trained, but
Maybe you could just send one. Different ones
I
instead of
think
all
we
three
already
going to all
budgeted
of
that
them.
way.
We already.
That- Because
Cut
the
our
previous
training.
ones didn't budget much because they didn't go. Nope. Well, they just tried to, that at least one of us could go at each training.
Okay.
Number,
10, one turn.
Oh, we did.
we've already cut capital out of there, right?
Yes.
So that. Cut Viva and capital out of it. What else is left?
Hundred and still be way in.
We can drop 500 out of the water for building and ground. What is the fuel line in the building and grounds? That's for the. Remember how it got to 1,000, but we could put that back to 500.
I'd agree with that.
On,
Because
fuel.
that other got to 1,000 because we didn't have anybody driving the truck or using the vehicle because Max was over there.
Mhm.
We didn't have anybody here for months.
So I think that's why we decided 1,000, especially with
Yeah.
the fuel costs and what Randy's doing.
Yeah,
Okay.
because he's doing a lot more since he got here than.
well, then let's,
than before.
what do you guys think about? Well, then
Came the end of May.
how about changing maintenance, building and fix? I mean, we still have maintenance to do, but we could improve the budget one time by putting the maintenance into the grant money for building improvement.
We would have to put it back in
Next year.
next year, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like Viva and everything else. If
Yeah.
we're doing Band-Aids, but that's $15,000 that and Colleen is gone, so I can't, but I think that would be fair game. Faucets,
Toilet seat,
leaky faucets, door locks, which I just ordered for the rest of the bathrooms as per our last meeting.
How much work goes in?
is left there until somebody uses it.
I think that you could get into a difficult thing because that's not necessarily one project.
Correct.
That's,
It's
So you-
on-
Which is where I was going.
yeah,
If we left 5,000 in there and
Well, we
counted on
spent
the
ten
big
thousand
project.
eight hundred and six.
Used LETCF for bigger
If there are
repairs.
bigger things in there, if there's anything that's $5,000 or more, it's capital anyway.
As being a potential LATCF beneficiary. I don't know that you'd be prevented from still using LATCF funds. And then at the end of the year, if you were able to not have expended the full 15,000, then maybe that's your surplus of what you don't have to take out of Maverick at the end of the year. So we're using the Maverick money as kind of a buffer.
Yeah,
I
that's a
think
good
it
idea.
prevents you from having to go through and kind of nitpick some of these items.
Okay.
Whereas you can get into the year and use the LATCF funds as it's necessary, and it's just going to be reflected at the end of the year.
Because
I
the
agree.
Maverick money will just be shown as a revenue. Split it between the departments. For an expense, do you want some of it to go to justice? What do you want to do? Because if you don't do that and you don't put some to go. Because you have, each fund has to be 3% max. Or whatever, not 3% max, whatever their levy rate is, and then you can't go up any more than that period, other than let 3%. Aggregated levy rate at the bottom. Which is your 3%. Total. What's that?
Because of the levies down.
Because of the levy caps. Levy caps are by each individual fund. And currently, by just the other day on the exercise we did by removing $200,000, we were within their levy right at the 0.002, but they could not levy anything more for years to come because of that. So you have to put some of that Maverick money in there so that you can bring that down.
Okay, so what do you want to do with maintenance then?
Like Ben said, we can leave it.
I'm kind of going with Ben as far as, getting our bottom line figures to where we need to be. County.
I agree. Is what,
I moved it to LATCF.
okay. Now,
Or
And building maintenance. We're just gonna do the,
I'd be in favor of cutting the maintenance and using that, but I understand the logic, so. Um,
Didn't have a whole lot of everything.
are we keeping him at 30 hours? Then. But I thought he was splitting his time now between both of them, but I don't.
you probably need to have Dan up here to answer that on, because it's basically the Isn't it all grants anyway for the, disaster services grants?
We get reimbursed 32,000.
Okay, I'm got too many topics going here.
Just 111.
I was a page short. Okay, so we don't know. That's where Dan. Okay, so we really can't do anything there without talking to them about how many hours.
Mm-hmm.
Previous structure where the person occupying that position, named Dan, was split 20 hours for disaster services and 20 hours for his P and Z role. We had that year where we had a huge fire season here in Shoshone County. Disaster services was demanding a ton of time. The board ultimately voted to increase the hourly allotment or allocation for disaster services up to 30 hours with that restructuring. That ultimately was a BOCC decision based upon environmental and logistical factors that were at play at that point in time. I don't know if those factors are still relevant, but I'm just providing that information so the commission's aware of how we got to where we're at.
I mean, it was 20 hours before that, even when there really is anything else in there to cut.
You know,
General, your next one, Dave, and that's number 118. That is not any employees, it's just.
Employee recognition. We could cut that $2,500. We had set that aside for recognizing county employees. That was new. That was a new expense that I think I recommended adding. So
We go back to commissioners on the office supplies too. I think we can cut that back to 7. The supplies getting set up, but I think we can knock that down another 800 just to get by next year.
okay,
You wanna put it back to 750?
Yeah,
sounds good. What do you think about the employee recognition? You want to cut that? It's a new expense. We've never done it, so
yeah,
it's
we might as well.
yep.
okay. So Tammy, that's 0823. 0. There's not much left there. P and Z we already discussed. Z that the person we hired to be administrator at that rate is not interested in the administration job. So I'm wondering if
She didn't get the bump
She
yet.
didn't get the bump.
she hasn't had the bump
No.
yet. So, but have we budgeted for the bump here?
Yeah,
That, but the bump's right here, right? Or
she's not to 20,000, she's to 40,000.
40,000.
The other person. So she would be. Well, that doesn't show a budget amount there, but she would be here, basically, planning tech is what she was. When she was. For another couple of months.
Yeah, she's right now she'd be at 39K. So
Yep.
So that's
39 plus the 1%.
I figured it with the 1%, I believe. 19.19 would be your new rate times 88 hours, which is 40,068. Administrator. Nine. And we also added $36,000 in for professional services because that's who was supposed to pick up that stuff the administrator was gonna do. So we decided not to have a full-time administrator, have someone that ran the office, which tech,
And we're hiring them.
and we're
in, so-
hiring a manager, and we still have 36,000
So
in for
maybe we
engineering
could cut
services.
professional services.
Cut professional service. What was it last year? 27?
But last year we didn't have Dan either. And before that, we had $1,000 because Dan was
That's
doing
for,
those.
that's gonna be for engineering, I think is what they're using it for. So
It was
if we have to get back to
Like
engineering,
couldn't do, the new girls can't do.
Mm.
So that's why we went to 36,000 from 1,000. We budgeted in the year before, 27,000 were. Anybody there that could do those things again this year?
and I don't know if we will with Dan either. Well, he may,
Well, whoever
come
it
in.
is that fills that slot, if you're gonna pay him that kind of wage, then they ought to be doing that kind of stuff.
So I agree
be
with,
paying
We cut about
$22.
30,000.
Know what the market is like out there for those people. When I talked to Dan, he said it's gonna be.
Code, we have supposed to
Dan
have
do
an
it?
administrator.
but if we're gonna have two full-time positions in P and Z, it makes sense that we should cut professional services some. Because we are now saying by salary, we're setting aside money for someone who would know how to do some of that stuff. So I think we should cut professional services down.
I just don't think we're gonna be able to find somebody at that light of a wage that has Dan's knowledge. I mean, that's the problem we're gonna run into. But like you said, we can always, open the budget if we have to. So what we can, we can open the budget and revisit this later. We can cut it right now for our low number.
Well, I'm gonna suggest 30,000.
Okay.
Does that work?
Cutting it,
Cutting professional services down to
6,000.
30?
Yeah.
Okay. That, Tammy, you
that
got
was my
that?
thought, but like I said, we can revisit that if we need to.
Okay.
Okay. So that drops 6 out of the budget. We're already done the cuts with our road and bridge.
Projects.
Which is what number?
137.
I don't have it.
137?
Then I go right to road and bridge.
Okay, that's where we're at.
They added $4,000 to senior citizens. They've had $8,000 for years, and we upped that to 12,000. Cover, and that used to come out of indigent. So when indigent went away, it had to go somewhere. So And Kootenai Soil and Water asked for 5,000 instead of 3,000 this year.
Yeah, I think we can
They
keep
sent you
that.
a letter.
Okay, but the first one you said was senior citizens, and I'm,
They sent us a letter, what you guys got,
yes,
requesting that we increase it, right?
Oh, the
So
senior
right there.
citizens, yes.
Yeah,
Okay,
increase it another $4,000. Originally, we interpreted their letter as
that's right.
not
Just asking for
increasing,
4.
but,
You're missing your last.
I'm think that in light of what we're at with it, we should probably leave this, we should probably not do any increases in this community projects budget. I think we should leave folks where they were. That would leave the seniors at 4, if I'm understanding Tam.
now.
Okay, so
Yeah,
I'd recommend we go back to the 8 then. Then we go back to the 3.
Yeah, I would agree.
I just,
Mhm.
I don't.
I agree.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
So I can tell you what the plan is, if you wanna go through yours. Not a lot more, I don't think solid waste is probably,
Madam Clerk,
maybe their
the
district one.
CF funds.
It's to make up a match. That would be a question.
You can use LATCF funds from those matches. You're eligible even though it's still.
It would be
coming out of
matched
grant,
from
so.
this year. End of the year when we are. Or next year, we did that.
Just noting it
Yeah.
because I know that LATCF funds can be used for most messages, which is.
Yeah,
how much is that Silver Express?
I think we need to just figure out where we're at now. And
Okay. I have us at right around 240. When you add those, we just cut back in there, that was another 12. I'm just guessing.
I have a
Election, poll workers wages by, the dollar an hour if they completed the election training, which is about, I can't remember how many hours, it's a lot of hours
okay,
to do it.
so you go,
Um,
because we're at 14,000 now, and then
correct.
22, we spent 8,500.
We also did not have a bond elections. So we didn't have one, and we will be preparing for and presidential, it was cost a lot more.
In our original budget, original number 14, We had set aside a 1% cost of living, but we had also set aside 80-some thousand for a potential 3% for the departments that hadn't got one.
In current expense, you put, 82,000 in there.
Is that
That's
still
in county
there?
general, yes.
Okay. In lieu of the current situation, I don't know. Do we want to vote on the 1% and the 3% now, or do we want to wait and see where we are?
I'd like to wait and see where we are and how much we have to cut. And
I agree.
Okay, I'm just trying
Is
to
this all
minimize
just
how
gonna
many
be
cuts we're gonna make in the next few days. Cause, Madam Clerk, when would you expect you would have the next round of numbers to us after you've done everything you have to do?
I'm hoping Friday morning, I'd have them by, hopefully by Friday morning.
Do we want to schedule a budget meeting
If
for,
I can get the list, I can get that part to you, but I'm not gonna be able to tell you where we are.
Kind of like what I gave to you last time, that changes or what list are you?
It'll be a list like what I just, this. Basically, it'd be similar to this, but, I can also update this. That will show you where we were originally and where we are after the cuts. But it will not show you what, that's where I start with the levies.
would you probably have the levy information?
Hopefully Friday. So if I can get these done Thursday afternoon, then I will be working on the levies all day Friday and into the weekend if I need to.
When would you recommend we have our next budget meeting?
There's and by then, I might even get that done tomorrow. This depends. I mean, we're already 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
So,
wonder if Joe's sleeping
Time-
over there.
time flies when you're having fun.
so I have to go and make all of the changes. Then I have to print out each. I should. And then I can print you all a new detail of everything down here. And have Sydney make the copies.
Do we want to go ahead and number 4?
Did you say for Thursday?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock budget meeting Thursday, where we'll have those new numbers.
When I get them, I will.
Work on moving that one. So that way we can have that.
Yeah, we do.
I'll just bump that one up in the day, I think.
So we'll move our meeting. Okay, so 3 o'clock budget meeting Thursday to continue in the joy, but we're not gonna make any decision yet on the 1% until we have summarized.
That means I'm gonna have to redo it all again.
So it would help the clerk if we could make that decision today, but
Move that out of county general, I can remove that.
is the
General
commission,
reserve went from 50,000 to 136,000. So if you would like me to do that
so
or any other.
Years over.
yeah. Um, that building code.
You still have copier maintenance.
Still have copy of maintenance, which we'll need, but the general reserve is where we put the
Yeah,
money. I've mentioned the 1% and this money we set aside for a potential 3% based on what a wage study showed. Back and leave the 1% on the table for right now.
I would agree with that.
What's your thought? Be out of general reserve. It's an easy one. Or are we wanting more information?
You know, that what's hard about it is that's the biggest issue we have right now is we're having to cut all of our budget, you know, cut everything as it is. And we're borrowing to get us through next year. And then next year, when we're going to still going to have to come up with it. So I'm just, you know, we're just in a spot where we can't afford it really right now. I mean,
How about the other elected? Anybody want to speak to the 1% that we're struggling with right now?
I'll speak up. I've been outspoken enough. I know that this is kind of the one opportunity where candidly the commission and sometimes the elected don't see eye to eye, right? We've got the day-to-day task of managing the employees, dealing with training, turnover, et cetera. And so anytime the question is on the table for me to advocate for my employees to ensure they're receiving comparable wage percent and the 1%. I'd love to see that we do the cost of living. Beacon or a light at the end of the tunnel for our employees.
I would agree with Ben. I think the turnover piece of it is extremely costly. It's gonna cost you a whole lot more than 1%. So I would be very much against taking that away.
I agree with seeing that.
Understand. And then you did that wage study. To smooth that over and show that employee or employees that they appreciate it. Could we do a one-time bonus on the LETCM? And then I think everybody's down.
I think a wage study would help
Tool.
point that.
Mhm.
And
I think that would help back up, yeah, the reasoning for that.
I think you'd need to look into some of the statutes that go with that, because there are some that if you give then you need to give it to everyone. And that would be everybody that already got them, as well as everybody that didn't.
If you did a cost of living.
No, if you did a stipend, if you did a bonus, sometimes you just can't say, oh, you did a great job on that. I'm gonna give you $1,000.
We could,
Okay, so we'd
Look
have
at
to
the
look at the
guidelines.
legal.
That's okay. If it's something you can nail it all down, and maybe that's a gray area. But if you just single out people because they aren't where they should be, I think we need to look into that a little further.
Then what's the opposite of true?
I'm sorry?
What's the opposite of true if you? Opens you up for.
I think we have some liability to consider there.
You have to have the job descriptions to prove it.
At this point, I would be inclined to leave the 1%. Because any reasonable person, I mean, the cost of living, they're still falling behind.
I'm agreement, leaving the 1%.
All right. Are you prepared to vote?
Yeah.
Of all these figures, that at this point, we still leave the 1% in, and that we don't make any changes.
We won't be able to adjust
I'll
it.
second.
Maverick funds and reduce everybody's wages, but it's not gonna reflect in your budget.
Okay, so let me amend my motion. I'm motioning that we leave the 1% in for this year.
Okay.
Aye.
Nay.
Money that we'd set aside for that for now. All right. Does that get us to where you could get your figures?
Yes, are you gonna do any changes for solid waste?
In all fairness, we asked them to make cuts at the beginning of the year, and then I haven't approached. I'd have to talk to them in the next day or so, and then, and then get you those figures.
So we're gonna leave them where they were with it.
Approved,
Take it.
well, I'm struggling with how we take it back, but we also didn't know we had a $3 million hole.
We've already been told and approved. I would say we leave it and work with what we have moving forward.
Cuts.
You will, because I'll have you for the budget. You'll know where we are.
But let's say we have to make more cuts because we didn't meet
You
the
got the
goal.
Maverick money to make up the difference.
Do you think there's enough there
I
to
do.
do it? Okay. Do you have a thought on the solid waste?
I know we need, it's. What's bad is, we have a situation here and we. But we can reopen the budget. We can do some things later if we drastically have to. So I've got that in the back of my mind as well. And, we may have to do more down the line if we Yeah, we can open it and
Just leave it the way it is. And what was the last item on your list there?
That was the last item on
Oh, I
mine.
thought you had 3 things.
Mr. Chair, can I inquire, when you asked the various departments to go through and make additional cuts to their budget after last week's meeting?
Ask for, but then I'd have to get Tammy the numbers today or tomorrow, whenever I could get the answers from them. They were just overlooked.
That would be fine, as long as it's that, the wage
Yeah,
part of it.
We could still
would
visit
not
with them and see where, if there's areas.
Okay,
we can call them.
so if I be by tomorrow.
Is that okay, Tim?
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay,
Talked some about our revenue. And we talked about Title III. I saw some emails. Every department look hard at their revenue streams and make sure that they're forecasting them appropriately. I did make an error on 416,000 that I put as refunds. But that didn't get us where we are. There are a lot of these that are not collecting in a timely fashion. I know that if you compare current expense, the items that are in increase was from 21, right? And then likewise into 23 or for the budget this year. And some of those are way off. There's one comment that one of these was, I think it was forest patrol. It's 1,000 because it did in 21. That is not true. It only went to 39 because we didn't bill it for 2 years and it was a catch up. So don't get that in mind. We can get that much. We won't. 18 is usually 16 to 18, but it's late. It's always accrued back because they're doing that in the summertime and they don't get the billing to them and it takes forever for them to get it paid back. And so I just would like everybody to really seriously look at the
Sheriff
The other-
Department, have you guys gone over your revenue pretty good now?
Yeah.
I just highlighted the ones that were yours
Mhm.
in current expense because they're the split that I have to do. Or our split, like.
I know with
that's
the
a
forest
split.
patrol, we were way behind in billing. And so we don't end up with another where we're a year
Yeah,
not billing them, and
build it in the calendar.
making
just to
sure,
pop up every-
and I'll follow up with her.
And it comes up in our audit every year
Mm-hmm,
that we're failing in that area.
mm-hmm.
So that's where it started really becoming a problem. And then it will also show you this year, if you look at it closely, where we're be drivers and chauffeur licenses. I don't know why that was so much, but we budgeted 23,000. We took in so far 37,000. And we budgeted taking 30,000 for next year. Could we have added more to that? probably, but I don't know, that's not my deal. Same thing with, payment in lieu of taxes, we never really know we're gonna get there, that's a school. The same as we did the year before, because we never know what we're gonna get, so that's an extra, so this year we could probably. Board of Prisoners, no, sheriff agreements. We're behind on getting that money in, but we budgeted for it. We went down this year in the budget. We were at 260. We collected 153 and we went down in revenue 199. I don't know, is that, did we lose some? Didn't we lose some? I don't know. And about, yeah.
It's just kind of a projection of what,
Right.
based off how many state inmates we're housing. We're
Yeah.
normally pretty steady in that, in the 120 to 150 range usually
Yeah.
every year.
And we brought it down to 120. We're at 110 now.
Yeah, those are
Okay.
just actual contracts
Yep.
with cities. So that's
And,
just set. That's what
yeah,
is what we're gonna get.
so
So
that's
it was
kinda,
wrong in past year.
He has since lost. The county used to have a contract for the city of Pinehurst, for instance.
right.
And they've since lost that one, so that's just an example of. Yeah,
The other one that's been discussed is Title III money and use. Patrolling or anything, any of that Title III. We use, we do get our SRS. We got $2.335 million this year in SRS. Probably get close to that next year in SRS. Of that money, none of it goes to current expense, none of it goes to the justice fund, it goes to roads at 1.438 million. Title III, which is Bill McLeod's forest, work that he does, firewise work and clearing properties to avoid forest fires. 188,000 to that. School District 391 got 401,000. School District 392 got 37,000. 393 got 197,000. 394 got 8,500. 41, which is St. Mary's, got 200 or 2. And that to patrol, because that is for emergency. We have to advertise that in May, what it's gonna be used for every year, and I have to do an annual report due February 1st every year on what it was spent on, and they can differ. So it takes some pre-planning in that area.
I think so far Darius has got about 15,000 for officers to do emphasis, and then that's in the current. Officers work so many hours of maybe an emphasis. A grant that'll fund one full-time position for the state, which would literally be a pretty much. So he's working on that grant.
We could use that.
Yeah, but that I just can't add it as
Mhm.
revenue because it's not fully secured. There's a good chance we're gonna get it, but
Okay, that's good. Anything else from the clerk? department heads? Okay, public comment, Matt.
I would argue that Title III money, but I don't have it right in front of me. I'm pretty sure it just says forest patrols. I will find. That's in here to possibly be used. Shoshone Hospital Fund, Hospital District, and move the sewer line down there, which is probably gonna cost us. Move that pipe whenever they want. And if you can use it, what been brought up about solid waste. They took, if I remember right, $200,000 out of capital improvements in their budget, didn't add nothing in. So their budget's actually down $200,000 from what it was. My thought is that the county is a team here to players. They unfair because treasurer's office hasn't got a huge matrix either. More than fair to take the one. But if you have to, at least they get their pay raise and they get up back to where they should be comparable to other county employees. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Avery.
Looks like
Usually on a real estate deal, there's a time limit for it to be.
They've taken 30 days. We've got. And they're spending money, so.
Anybody got a plan after that? And the cost of living, the 1%, I know Jeff's not against everybody having a pay increase. But he's the one here who is really. Yeah, don't know. I mean, I know what that's like. I've had a business and I had to tell the guy, hey, well, this ain't coming out like we think, so things gotta change. And some of them quit, it's just the way it goes. But reality is reality. And somehow you've got to this point